Not good, huh? How was that?
It's great, Rabbi.
Much better.
Yeah, right now the camera is just getting the bottom of it. So we're borderline losing the top of your head, but at least we're not getting that glare. At least it's not too bad.
Is that okay, guys, or?
It's not great.
Danny, I think we'll be fine.
We will be fine, but it's just like, remember, this video is going up at the Chabad.org. Oh, that's better, Rabbi.
Yeah, that's great.
Much better.
Come even closer.
Guys, everybody make sure you mute yourself once we start. Right now, a few of you are not muted.
All right, are we ready, Danny?
Let's do it.
Yes.
Danny, yeah, okay, good. All right, with tremendous gratitude to Hashem, I'm Baruch Hashem able to continue giving these classes. I ask of Hashem that he grant me a refuah shalema. I would like to thank my doctor, Dr. David Cohen. I would like to thank Rabbi Yitzi Morovich for really taking care of me, the entire Chabad Solar community, for all of your support, for the Shluchim in California. I thank each and every one of you, to the amazing team of Chabad.org for Yavas Yisrael, that's Zalman Shmatkin, that's Mendel Kaminker, that also should have a refuah shalema, Rav Shmuel Lipschitz, and all of the others. I want to thank you guys, every one of this group, Yasher Koyach, for being here for me, for continuing the learning. A big thank you to Dr. Daniel Hassan for setting up all of the technology. Yasher Koyach and Achron Chaviv, Rabbi Daniel Fishman, thank you very much. Shem should bless that your learning should be Le'il and Ishmas, your father, Moshe Baruch Ben Yaakov, who has a lot of nachas from you. And we should have koyach to continue even greater than before. If there's a little bit of a lack of joy in my voice, I'm a little bit weak, but Meretz Hashem, from day to day, my koyach will come back. And from now onwards, until this Magefa goes away from us, may that happen now, amen. We are dedicating all of our shiurim for everyone that needs a refuah shalema, may they be granted with a full and speedy recovery, amen.
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 Okay, so Danny left off on Daf Chav Daled Amid Beis by the Mishnah. The Mishnah is going to continue to discuss the various fuels that may or may not be used for Shabbos, and we're going to add in also Yom Tif, which will be very interesting. I have the great schus of coming back, learning a daf connected to Kachim, which is really great. So we're going to be reviewing the rule that ein soir from Kachim the Yom Tif. We're going to be going over the dinim of Esa Doicha Loisasa, right? Yevamis, and ein Esa Doicha Loisasa Ve'esa. We're going to find a source from where we learn that when Truma is Tameh, even though we're not allowed to eat, a kohen is not allowed to eat Truma, that's Tameh, but we are allowed to benefit from Truma, that's Tameh, which means, for example, if there's oil or really any other produce that became Tameh, you have to destroy it by burning it. But when you burn it, you can use the fuel to cook something or to get warm. You can have Hana'ah from Truma Tameh, which is unlike the din of Kachim. When Kachim, what's called Psulei HaMikdashim, when it has to be destroyed, it's also Bahana as well. We're going to learn the sources for that. And because of this topic, we're going to go through a great chazara of many dinim of Kachim, as well as various dinim of Truma. And we're going to return and Daf Chof Hey Amid Beis to the sugya of Hadlakas Ner B'Shabbos Chayva. And as we'll be learning, there is a chayva that the home should have fire in it. But we're going to learn other details in the dinam of Hadlakas Neiros, particularly that it should ideally be lit in the place where we eat. And therefore, that's going to affect the various types of oils that, according to some Tanai, may not be used because the smell will be so repugnant that people will not eat in that environment. Now we're going to learn a little bit of Agadata. B'chlal, in the second chapter of Shabbos, we have a lot of Agadata. We're going to have a little bit now going into the mitzvah of washing before Shabbos, washing either a bath or, if not a full bath, at least one's hands and feet. From that, we're going to go into a interesting discussion of the definition of wealth. And we're going to also learn a din that if you have a lamp, right, that's filled with oil, one is not allowed to remove any of that oil on Shabbos because you're going to bring about the extinguishment of the lamp, of the candle, prior to when it should have been, because you took some of the oil out, and that's part of the isur of MERCAVA. Okay, so let's start on Daf Chof Daled Amid Beis by the Mishnah. It's Mamash Middle of Amid. Ein Madlikin b'Shemen Sreifa b'Yantiv. Shemen Sreifa in our Mishnah is specifically referring to Truma that became Tameh. And as we mentioned in the intro, Truma that's Tameh may not be eaten by a Kohen, but it may be benefited from. However, one should say, well, I have oil that's Truma, and therefore I'm going to use that oil for Hadlakas Neiros on Yom Tov. So says the Mishnah that you may not do that on Yom Tov, and we'll see the reason for that in the Gemara. And now the Mishnah returns to Shabbos, to Hadlakas Neiros on Shabbos. Rabbi Shmuel says, Rabbi Shmuel Omer, Ein Madlikin Be'itron, that one may not use. Itron is some sort of oil residue of pitch, all right, of zephys, that has a very repugnant odor. One may not use that for Hadlakas Neiros, obviously Yom Tov as well, but we are returning to Shabbos also. Why? Mipnei Kavod Shabbos, because it will take away from the Kavod of Shabbos, again, as we will see more on Daf Chafei Amid Beis. The Chachamim disagree, and they hold, Bekoil Hashmanim, one may light, they're matter to light any type of oil, meaning including b'shemen shumshumim, oil of sesame, b'shemen agoizim, oil of nuts, b'shemen sunoinois, oil that comes from radish seeds, b'shemen dagim, oil that comes from fish. They don't necessarily smell that great. B'shemen pukuois, Rashi says pukuois is some sort of gourd, a gourd that grows out in the wild, in the midbar. And according to the Chachamim, unlike Rabbi Yishmael, b'itron, you may light the candles of Shabbos with oil called itron, as well as beneft. Neft is another type of derivative of pitch. Rab Tarfon disagrees with all of the opinions above, and he holds that ein madlikin ela b'shemen zayis bolvad, that the only oil that may be used for Hadlakas Neiros, Shabbos, and Yom Tov is pure olive oil, because that oil goes into the wick better than any other oil. The fire is consistent more than any other fire. All of the Tanoim will hold that this is the ideal oil to use, but Rab Tarfon holds it's the only oil that may be used. Okay, so now let's focus on the first din of the Mishnah, right? Ein madlikin b'shemen sreifa, meaning with truma, oil that became tamei, it may not be used on Yom Tov. Says the Gemara, my Tama, Lefisha ain't sarfim kachim yantiv. Because whenever you have psuli hamikdashim, that you have a mitzvah to burn, and the source of burning psuli hamikdashim comes from a pasuk in Parshas Boy regarding the Koren Pesach. There, the pasuk says, "L'sasidu memenu ad boiker, v'hanoisim memenu ad boiker ba'eish tisroifu." So one of the examples of kodesh that becomes invalidated is if you allowed it to stay beyond the permitted time, known as noisar, and that the Torah says you have to burn it. However, you have to burn it, but you're not allowed to burn it on Yom Tov. Now we know that on Shabbos we may not burn. On Shabbos we can't burn. On Yom Tov we are allowed to burn. And that's going to be based on the rules that we'll have later, right? Bei Shammai, Bei Hillel holds that mitoich shehutra, even when it's shaloi l'tzorech oichel nefesh, right? So in other words, since we are allowed to make a fire and use a fire, when it comes to making food, we are generally allowed to burn things on Yom Tiv. However, there are exceptions to that. And on Yom Tiv, we may not burn anything. And since we're going to compare Truma to Yom Tiv, so as we will prove now in the Gemara, the Minohan Amili, that we may not burn Konshim on Yom Tiv, it's a given that that also includes Truma as well. And therefore, again, if you have the Shem and Sereif of Truma, you may not burn it, use it for Adlakas Neidus on Yom Tiv. Now, before we go on, we have to learn the third Tosfos. Right?
Amen.
It says Tosfos, hold on, I get it. Kachim on Yom Tiv may not be burnt. But how are we comparing Truma to Kachim? The imtaimar heicha yalfin and Truma mi Kachim. The Kachim says Tosfos, din hu she'ein srifas on doichin Yom Tiv, because of the rule lefi she'ein yachali hanis b'shas reifas. Since when you burn psuli hamikdashim, it's not only that you can't eat it, you can't have enough from it, and therefore, why are we allowed to make fires on Yom Tov? Because of the rule, so Tosfos explains the concept. You can make a fire even if it's not food related, but there has to be some sort of need, there has to be some sort of benefit. Abel says Tosfos, for example, you're making a fire on Yom Tov to get warm from the fire, or for any other type of hana'ah. And being that from kachim, when you burn kachim, you may not have any type of hana'ah. So it makes sense that there's no mitoich shehutra l'tzairech, chutra shaloi l'tzairech, because there's no tzairech altogether. You get it? So therefore, you can't make a fire. You can't burn kachim on Yom Tov. Avol. Problem is that kachim, that's puzzle, take is something that only can be burnt. No hana may be derived even from the burning of it. But since, as we will be learning on Daf Chafei, one is allowed to derive benefit from truma that's tamei while you are burning it, you can use the fuel, you can use the warmth, you can use the light. So how are we comparing it to kachim? It's not like kachim. There is a tzairech ksas. That's the kasha of Tosfos, which is a great question. So let's learn the one. Tosfos gives a few answers. The first Tosfos, just scooting a few lines down. V'omer riva, the vadaigara. It's just as bad as kachim. And listen to the logic of Tosfos. I'm reading Tosfos. Tekiven sha'asra Torah kol hanos. Since the Torah really prohibits anyone from deriving benefit from truma that's tummy. The only exception is deriving benefit when you're burning it. Im kain, says Tosfos, havarazu eina l'tzoirech hanaasei. When you burn truma, you can't frame it, you need fuel. Here, you got yourself fuel. That's not the way you are to look at it. Ella, really, you're burning truma that's tummy because there's a mitzvah to destroy truma that's tummy through burning it. Ella l'shei mitzvah sreifa. You have a mitzvah to destroy it. While you're burning it, on the side, you are allowed to have the secondary benefit, which is for fuel, for fire, for whatever it is. But the way we are to view the burning of truma is the same way we are to view the burning of kachim, which is, this is something that we may not derive benefit thereof, you got to destroy it. By kachim, when you destroy it, even that moment, you can't have benefit. By truma, while you're burning it, you could have benefit from the fuel, or from the fire, from the warmth. But it's still viewed as something that has to be burnt. The mitzvah is to burn it. And therefore, since there is a rule that you can't burn kachim on Yom Tov, as we'll learn in the Gemara various sources, therefore, we're going to automatically compare, we may not burn truma that's tamei on Yom Tov, and therefore, you can't use that oil for hadlakas neir Yom Tov because you're burning it on Yom Tov, and you can burn it on Yom Tov. Okay, back in the Gemara, second line in the Gemara, Daf Chav Daled Amid Beis, B'nahanamili, what's the source that you may not burn it to kachim on Yom Tov? And Rashi explains why they need to have a source, because as we just quoted, the pasuk in Parshas Bo, There's a positive commandment to destroy kachim that became invalidated, and there's a rule that esa doicha loisasa. So what's the problem? You can't make a fire on Yontif. And again, I get it. Even though by Yontif you say metoich shehutra l'tzairach, hutra shaloi l'tzairach, but we just learned to Tosfos there has to be tzas tzairach hana, and by kachim there is no hana, so it's not permitted. So it's a lav. So what? And positive should overrule the negative. So therefore, the Rashi explains you need to have a source from where we know that you may not burn Psuli Hamikdashim on Yontif, and we're going to go through a series of sources. Omar Chizkiya, v'chein Tana Dvei Chizkiya, Omar Kram. We have over there in Parshas Boy, when the Torah is speaking about the Koren Pesach. So the Torah says that v'lo soisiru mimenu ad boiker, v'hanoisim mimenu ad boiker, right? Ba'esh tesreifu. Right? You can't allow the Koren Pesach to go until the morning. And then the Torah adds, and if you left it over until the morning, you got to burn it in fire. Now you see clearly that the second time the pasuk says ad boiker, those words are mamish superfluous. The Torah says lo soisiru mimenu ad boiker, and the Torah could have continued v'han loiser mimenu, and if you did leave it, then ba'esh tesreifu fabrenet. Why did the Torah she'ein tamud leimer ad boiker, ma tamud leimer ad boiker? We're speaking about the second ad boiker. There says Chizkiya, and so we learned in his yeshiva, that if you violated the law of Noiser, you allowed it to remain until the morning, and now you have to burn it. Don't burn it on the first day of Yontif, Tezvav, Nisan. No, you have to burn it on the next day. Now don't forget, Chavre, that in Eretz Yisrael, the next day is Chol HaMoed. Now hold on. If you can't burn Kachim on Yontif, when is Yontif over? Yontif should be over at night, right? In Eretz Yisrael, there's one day Yontif. So if you remember, we already learned, Chavre, from Shlamim, that was a big rule in Kachim, the sources in Shlamim, that whenever you have Noiser is never burnt at night. It's another din. It has to be burnt in the morning. But why can't you burn it on the 15th in the morning? It's already Noiser. The Torah is telling you a rule, not only for Koren Pesach. Aklal, Psulei Hamikdashim may not be burnt on Yontif. Now, because of another rule that we learned from Shlamim, that you can't burn Psulei Hamikdashim at night, so the first opportunity you'll have will be the Boiker Sheni. You get it? The Boiker Sheni means Yom Tezai in the first day of Chol HaMoed. That's one source. Abaye has another source, Amar Kra in Pinchas, where it says, Oilas Shabbos b'Shabbatoi. Of course, the oil of Shabbos is brought on Shabbos. So that implies now hold on, why would you think that you can burn an oilas choil on Yontif? Of course not. Every day has its oila. The pasuk is speaking about a carbon that became invalidated. It became possible for whatever reason. And now you have a mitzvah that we learned from the Be'esh Yisrael to burn Psulei HaMikdashim. Comes the Torah and Pinchas and tells you, fine. Don't burn it on Yontif. Don't burn it on Shabbos. Burn it during the week. Okay, and again, the logic we already learned in Tosfos, because Bechal burning, right, is only mutter. But there has to be some sort of tzarech. And we don't say here, how do we know that? From Oila Shabbos b'Shabbatay. Rava Omar Rava says, and he's going back to Parshas Boy. In Parshas Boy it says, B'yom HaRishon Mikra Kodesh, U'b'yom HaShvi Mikra Kodesh Yelachem, Kol Malacha Lo Yei Asa Bohem, Asher Yei Ochel L'chol Nefesh. And now the Gemara continues, Hu Levada Yei Asa Lachem. That's the source that when it comes to Yom Tov, something that's needed for people to eat, you can break the rules of Malacha. So here the Gemara is pointing out that the words hu levadoi, only that, are superfluous. The Torah could have said, as Rashi points out, asher yeyachel l'chol nefesh, that which is needed for eichel nefesh, yeyasa lachem, do for you. Hu and levadoi are two very strong exclusionary words. What did they teach you? So we learned two dinim, says Rava. Din number one is hu v'lei machshirin. And Chaver, we're going to have a whole Pedic and Shabbos later about this concept. Even though we are, yes, allowed to violate Yom Tov for Eichel Nefesh, but that's only for something that could only have been done on Yom Tov itself. I'll give you an example. I can bake bread out of Yom Tov, but it's not going to be as fresh as if I would break it on Yom Tov. You can break it on Yom Tov. But what about, let's say, harvesting the grain? You could have harvested the grain before. right? That's called a machshir. It's called something that's preliminary, something that is needed before making food. That is something that you may not violate the Yom Tov for, even though you didn't do it. Tough luck, too late, you didn't do it, you can't do it now. Now the word levadai, that levadai is also extra, that teaches you another din, and that is v'loi mila shaloi bismana, that if you have a bris milah that shaloi bismana, it's not on the 8th day, and now it is on Yom Tov, and Bachlal making a wound is asur on Yom Tov. But you would have thought, as we have a kal v'chomer, as we're going to read it inside Rashi, that's again from Shabbos later on, there is a kal v'chomer from which you would have said that even if Mila Shaloi Bismana, you should do it on Yom Tov, on Shabbos and on Yom Tov. So the Levadoi comes to tell you that you may not do it on Shabbos and on Yom Tov. Now, what does this have to do with Psuli HaMikdashim? Wait a second. First, let's learn inside the Rashi. Rashi is around 5 lines under the Gemara, Levadoi. Rashi will explain the potential kal v'chomer. We're going to see why we don't make the kal v'chomer, and that logic will mamish come back into the din of ein sorfen kachim b'yantiv. And once you know that ein sorfen truma on yomtiv as well. So let's read inside Rashi. Levadei. Levadei says Rashi l'ma'ute mila shalei bismano doloi dachya. It doesn't overrule not Shabbos nor yomtiv. Now, why do we need to have a pasuk levadi to exclude it? Explains Rashi. Then it would have had a kal v'chomer, that it would have used that kal v'chomer, the titche, that it does break the Shabbos and Yom Tov. And where do we learn that? Bepedek Rabbi Eliezer Demila, right? Daf Kuf Lamed Beis. Tohachi Tanya Hassan umatzoras chebre for kohen has a negatzoras. That kohen may not do the avodah. So that means that soras is doiche the avodah. Now, avodah, we're speaking about avodah tzibur, of course, is doiche Shabbos, right? The avodah of tzibur is not on Shabbos, which means that, so listen, soras is doiche avodah is doiche Shabbos. Mila shaloi bismano should therefore also be doiche Shabbos. Why? Because we know that mila is doiche soras. That means that if you have this negat soras on the orla itself, you cut it off. And that is true not only if you do Mila on the 8th day, no matter when you do a bris Mila, ben bismana, ben shaloi bismana, that Mila is doichet soras, and that Rashi says is learned from Sukkim. So if Mila is doichet soras, you see how great Mila is. So Mila, right? So Shabbos shenitches from pnei avoda ein adin that shetei Mila shaloi bismana doicha oisa, and it means Shabbos and Yom Tov. That's the kal v'chomer. However, that's why the Torah says the word levadoi. Right, the word levadoi in Parshas Boy, la'afuke mehai kal v'chomer, d'loi tidrush lei. Eloma, what do? You wait until after Shabbos. You wait until after Yom Tov. So therefore, the second to last line in Rashi, that milah, the mitzvah she'ein zman kavua, any mitzvah that doesn't have a fixed time. In other words, if you don't do it today, you can do it tomorrow, like a bris milah. That will be the logic. Why doesn't Hashem allow Mila Shalei Bismana overrule Shabbos and Yom Tov? Because he can do it the next day. So the same logic we apply over here. You have kachim. The kachim, for the many reasons, it became puzzle. And you have the mitzvah to burn it. You don't have to burn it today. If you don't burn it today, you get the mitzvah burning it tomorrow. So therefore, don't burn it, not on Shabbos, nor on Yom Tov. Another source, right? The last line of the Amit, Ravashi Amar, and now Ravashi is quoting a pasuk that we have in Parshas Emoir. That's a pasuk regarding the holiday of Sukkot. By Yom Harishon Shabbos, by Yom Shmini Shabbos, Daf Chafei Amud Aleph. So says the Gemara, says Ravashi, Shabbos means you have a mitzvah to rest on Asay. Until now, we are thinking. Right, what was the whole premise of the Maitama we learned in Rashi? Since there is a mitzvah to burn Psuli HaMikdashim, it says Bo'esh Tisreifu mitzvah sasei. There is a lav, right, to do a malacha on Yom Tov. There is a lav. So what? And es is deichaloisase. No, says the Gemara. Resting on Yom Tov is also a positive commandment. So therefore, Yom Tov is both an esa and a loisase. The ein esa, the taka, there's a mitzvah sasei Bo'esh Tisreifu to burn Psuli HaMikdashim. But the ein esa doiches loisa seva esa makes a lot of sense. Esa overrules a loisa. But an esa cannot overrule both an esa and a Okay. Now, it says the Gemara, by Yom Tefuda Aser. So what do we get from this whole sugya? That you may not use Tami Dika Truma oil to use it for fuel for a lamp on Yom Tiv. Habach oil, Shaper dummy. 1 second. How do you know that? My Tama. Maybe, why don't we say that just like Psulei HaMikdashim, right? Psulei HaMikdashim, something that we may not derive benefit. Whoever taught you that you can derive any benefit from Truma, that's Tamei. Tosfos goes even Gavaldik. Tosfos, it's 5 lines or 4 lines under the Rashi, in the wide lines. Tosfos Divrei Hamaschal Habachol Shaper Mai Tama. So Tosfos says like this, that we know that Truma is compared to Bikurim. We had that many times in Kachim. And we also know that Bikurim is compared to Meiser Sheni. And that we know. Meiser Sheni may not be burnt, you may not have Hana'ah when you're burning Tamei Dika Meiser Sheni. So that's why Truma is like Bikurim. Bikurim is like Meiser Sheni. Meiser Sheni is also any Hana'ah. You have to destroy it. So that's the Gemara's kasha. So why do we know, from where do we know that Truma is different? So Amarav, in the Gemara, just like there's a mitzvah to burn kachim that became tamei, kach mitzvah lisrei v'asa truma shenitmeis. There's a mitzvah to burn truma that became tamei, and this mitzvah of burning truma is a befedish pasuk in Parshas Tzav. We had all this in kachim, even though the Torah uses the word kodesh there, but sometimes kodesh in the Chumash refers to truma. Now, as we'll see in a moment, but the Torah also says that b'shas biyura, when you burn truma, that's tamei, you can derive benefit. So if it's not the Yom Tiv, gesund hate, use it for, enjoy the fire, whether it is to cook, whether it is for warmth, whether it is for reading. What's the source? From where do we know that we are allowed to have hana from Truma Tameya? And here again, we're going to have a series of sources. So the answer number 1 is Midar Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman, Amar Amar Kra, and we're quoting a pasuk in Parshas Koirach. God says, and I nosati hine nosati locha. I'm giving to you the kahanim. Es mishmeres trumoisoi, the safeguard of my truma offerings. Trumoisai loshin rabim b'shtei trumais hakasud medaber achas truma tohira v'achas truma tameya. That God says, I'm giving it to you, the kohen, which means shalacha tehei. It belongs to I. It's tamei. So what? You need the fuel. They didn't have the gas, so they needed something to burn, to make fire. Put it under your pot. There was another source, like was taught by Rabbi Abo. This is from a pasuk in Parshas Kisavai. Right, that pasuk is speaking about Meiser Sheni, that the person is declaring, I did not consume it while it was in a state of Tumah, referring both to whether the person was Tamei or whether the Meiser Sheni was Tamei. Consuming means I didn't eat it. Consuming means I didn't have Hana'ah while I was burning it. I had no benefit from it. And the Torah says the words Mimenu. Mimenu, there is extra to tell you Mimenu yatamavir. When may you not have benefit, even when you're burning it? That's only from Meiser Sheni, that's Tamei. But the Mimenu is excluding Truma from this law, from this prohibition. Says the Gemara, hold on. Well, why don't we exclude Kodesh? Say only Meiser Sheni may not be benefited thereof, but maybe Kodesh, yeah. So the Gemara says, no, Lav Kal V'Chaymeru, Ma Meiser Hakal. Don't forget, Meiser Sheni has the least sanctity when you compare it to Truma and to Kodesh. So Meiser, that's the most lenient. Nevertheless, that the person must declare that again, when I was tamei, or when the Meiser Sheni was tamei, not only was it not consumed, but no benefit was benefit thereof. So kodesh, when it comes to kachim, which is chamor, like kolchen, that you can't have any hana. So the Gemara says, hold on, Truma is also more chamor than Meiser Sheni. I give you an mashal. A person who was tamei, a tamei person cannot have Meiser Sheni. When they go to the mikvah, right? We keep on learning these dinim, and they don't have to wait until head of Shemesh to eat Meiser Sheni. But for Truma, you have to wait until head of Shemesh, v'chulei. So the Gemara says, no, you got to exclude something. But the Gemara asks, so my reason, what makes you see to exclude Truma and not Kodesh? So the Gemara says, Mistamra, that Kodesh should not be excluded from this prohibition, from this Chumrah. Again, it's a Chumrah that once you have to burn it, you're done. You can't have any benefit from it. Why should Kodesh not be excluded from the leniency? In other words, Kodesh should be Chamur, because Shekain, and then we're going to go through a Chazara, because we find various Chumras that are unique to Kodesh that doesn't exist by Truma. So if Kodesh is more Chamur than Truma, then we should apply this Chumra to Kodesh and the leniency to Truma. And we're going to go through 6 dinim. Shekain, the simon for the 6 dinim is Tanach, Ikes, meaning pay is pigul, right? The din of pigul. Pigul means that when a person is during the 4 steps of Avodah, which is Shchita, Kabbalah, Hoilacha, and Zrika, if the Kohen or the Balabayas had a machshava that they're going to do any other part of this chutz lizman, it renders that animal pigul. We have a machlokes, whether those thoughts have to be articulated, whether it's even only b'machshava, but this whole concept of pigul is not shayach by Truma, yes, by Kodesh. The next is noiser. If you actually allowed a part of the animal to remain beyond its allotted time, that's nicer. There's no nicer by Truma. Korban, the fact that it's in the designation known as Korban, Truma is not called a Korban. Second to last line, the fact that it's subject to Me'ilah. If someone inadvertently had Hana'ah from Kodesh, the whole Pasha, they have to give back a Keren and the Chaimish and a Korban Hashem Me'ilah. That you don't have that by Truma. And V'kadas, if a person, now it's always, remember, there's 2 dinim. There's when the food is tamei, and then when there is the person is tamei. Kadas is when the person is tamei. If a person is tamei and they eat kachim, they're chayiv kadas. If a person is tamei and they eat truma, if the kohen is tamei and they eat truma, the chayiv misa b'dei shamayim. Kadas, as we'll see here, is a greater punishment than misa b'dei shamayim, and we have many other rishonim that give many other nuances. We're going to learn just the Rashi here. Rashi is more or less a middle of the Amid. The kadas is la'oichla. When is their kadas? Not when the kachim is tamei. That's a lav, malchus. But when is their kadas? When the person is tamei, even if the food is tahar. And by truma, same thing. If the kohen is tamei, he gets misa b'dei shamayim. And here Rashi speaks out that both by kadas and by truma, yamav nitzarim, the person's life is cut short. In other places, as we learned this in Tanya, that by kadas, the person doesn't live beyond 50. By misa b'dei shamayim, the person doesn't live beyond 60. But Rashi doesn't make that difference. Rashi says that they are both similar, that when a person gets this punishment before they do tshuva, before they're forgiven, then their life is shortened. Aval eino hoylech ariri. Ariri, you remember, ariri means if a person passes away without having children. Kadas not only shortens one's life, but God forbid there is no children. Now there's a whole question in the Rishonim. Does it mean that if a person already had children, if God forbid they're going to pass away young, or if it means that if a person violated Kadas from then on, he won't have children, and many other nuances that we'll learn in many other places. But just to remember that Kadas and Misa b'dei Shamayim, as we'll see here, consistent, Kadas is a greater punishment than Misa b'dei Shamayim, back in the Gemara, and Asur l'Oinam, the final one, right, the samach from the ikes, from the simon. That means that if a person lost one of his or her 7 close relatives, midoiraisa on the day of the passing, midrabanan until the burial, v'chulei. So truma can be eaten. A kohen then is allowed to eat truma, but no one, whether it's a kohen eating the parts of kachim that a kohen can eat, whether it's a Yisrael eating the parts of kachim that a Yisrael may eat, an oinan cannot eat kachim, period. So because we find that kachim is so chamur, it makes sense that the mimenu, which is giving a leniency, the leniency is being pointed towards truma and not towards kachim. Truma also has some unique characteristics that kachim doesn't have. The last line of the Amid, loy mima'atino, shekain machpaz is the siman. What's machpaz? Let's go with the mem. Misa. Okay, misa b'dei shamayim. Again, even though I will mention, and the Gemara is going to reiterate it soon, that kadas is worse than misa b'dei shamayim. Nevertheless, it's something unique to truma, right? If the person, if a kohen is tamei and eats truma, is chai misa b'dei shamayim. The din of a chaimish. The din of a chaimish is that if someone who is a non-kohen, who b'shoigeg inadvertently eats truma of a kohen, he has to not only pay him back the value of what he took, but he has to add a halachic chaimish. There is no such rule by a Yisrael who eats kachim b'shoigeg. From a kohen, he has to give back the loss. He has to pay back what he took. But there is no din of chaimish. Turning to Daf Chafei Amid Beis. The Ein La Pidyon, again, another unique din when it comes to Truma, that Truma may never be redeemed, says Rashi. Redemption will never work to bring Truma into Chulin. Now, what about Kodesh? Don't think that all Kachim can be redeemed. Of course not. So Rashi says, Yesh Kodesh and Nifdam. There are scenarios by Kodesh that they could be redeemed. For example, if an animal got blemished right before the Shechita, as we learned so much together. The final din is Va'asura Lizarim, right? That's the Machpaz, that's the Zayin, that's the fourth, which means again, not that Kodesh is Muta Lizarim. Truma may never be eaten by a non-Kohen. Never. Kodesh, it depends. He says certain kachim, they'll go to all kachim kalim. Kachim kalim, after the zrika, after the right time, some of it can be eaten to zanim. So Truma also has unique characteristics. So answer number one is, right, the classical Hanoch Nefishin, right, the stringencies, the chumras that we find by kachim are more numerous. 6, here there's only 4. The Iba Yisema, even if it would have been the same in number, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. And which one indicates the quality? Right, the Alter Rebbe says always that from the punishment you know the mohus, because Hasidim, we celebrate serving God lishma. The reason why we learn so much about the punishments is from the punishment you can see the importance of the mitzvah. L'shem the mitzvah itself was by the fact that if a kohen or a Yisrael, if a person who is tamei, who eats b'mezid, kachim, the chayiv kares, versus the same by a kohen eating truma, he gets misa b'dei shamayim, that in itself shows that kachim is more chamur. And finally back, the final place from where we exclude truma, right? Like we said, Meiser Sheni, that was the Taisvis. Kachim is compared, Truma is compared to Bikurim. Bikurim is compared to Meiser Sheni. Meiser Sheni, when it's Tamei, you can't derive benefit from it. So why is Truma different? So that Nachman Yitzchak Amar Kra. This is a pasuk, my friends, in Parsha Shoiftim. Here again, the Torah speaking about what we give to the Kahanim. It says, Reishis de Goncha Tereishcha v'Yetzarecha, Vereishis Geis Soicha Titein Loi, and Chazal say, give it to him and not to his fire. Give it to him and not to his fire. So Rashi says that Chazal learned from this Titein Loi the following, that if a person has produce, and Takishno, when you separate Truma, as long as it is min hamukaf, remember that? If you have 2 piles, if they are of the same quality and they're together, you can take from one pile for the other. Same type, same quality. But what happens if it has a ruchnias dika, dislike quality? One is tamei and one is tar. So one may not separate from a pile of tamei and thus giving the kohen truma temeya for a pile of produce that's tar. Why? So look at the words of Chazal. They could have said because you're giving from something inferior to something superior. You can't do that. No. The words they said is loy, because you have to give it to him. And if you're going to give him tamei, then I'll have to burn it. And pshat burn it lo'oidoi doesn't mean I'll have to destroy it. Lo'oidoi means I'll have to use it for his lamps. So it's not fair that you're giving something that won't even go directly to him. He can only have the benefit from burning it in his lamps. That's paket. There's a harayim that taka when trumas tamei, at least lo'oiroi, the kohen can use it. But you can't give tamei on the third. Lo'oiroi michlal the bas oiroihu. Beautiful. Okay. Now the Gemara is referring back to the Mishnah. Right? The Mishnah Daf Chav Daled on the base has the sheet of Rabbi Yishmael that says that Itron may not be used as fuel for Shabbos Yom Tov candles. Why? So the words of Rabbi Yishmael was Kavoid Shabbos. And I'm sure in the earlier Dafim we learned about Oineg, we learned about Kavoid, as was explained above. So let's go my Tamu. Right? What does Kavoid Shabbos have to do with a foul smelling lamp? Amar Rava. Now the Bach amends to Rabba, right, the teacher of Rabba, because it has a foul odor, we are afraid. The person Pashut will leave the room. He won't eat He'll depart that room. Amalei Abaya asks Abaya to Rav or to Rabba, who cares? Zolar Arizkan, V'yetze. In other words, if you view the mitzvah of lighting the candles, that the home should be lit up, the home is lit up. So you're not going to have the meal there. Who cares? So Amalei responds, Rabba, no. I say, Hadlakas ner b'Shabbos choiva. You have to learn Rashi. If not, you don't appreciate the answer. Hadlakas ner b'Shabbos in the place where you eat. That's the choiva, Zakt Rashi. 11 lines from the top of the Amid. Choiva koveit Shabbosu she'ein su'uda chashuva ela b'makom oir. Ke'ein yemama. Not a romantic lights. No, that the light should be lichtig like the day. That's koveit Shabbos, says Rashi. The Amar Rav Nachman Bar Zavdov, Amar Rav Nachman Bar Rava, Amar Rav Hadlakas Ner b'Shabbos. Again, we're speaking about lighting candles dafka in the place where you eat. That is a chayva. And now we're going me'ingen le'ingen. Likewise, rechitzas yodayim v'raglayim b'chamin. Arvis means before Shabbos, washing your hands and your feet in hot water. This is taking a shtickle bath. That is rishus. That's optional. Va'ani oimer, even that is a mitzvah. Chayva is more than mitzvah, but that's also a mitzvah. My mitzvah. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav. Kach hoyim and hagishol Rabbi Yehuda b'Rabbi Loi. The Tanach Rabbi Yehuda b'Rabbi Loi. That erev Shabbos, Mevim Loi Areva, they would bring to him a tub, Malei Chamin, filled with hot water, and v'roichetz panav yadav v'raglav, and he would wash his hands and his feet, and u'mesatev, and he would wrap himself, v'yoishev b'sadinim, and he would sit. Chevra the chasheveh garments were linen garments. Let's jump back to Menachos, or jump ahead to Menachos. The whole sugya. Bottom line will be that linen garments are exempt from tzitzis. A machlokes Rashi Rabbeinu Tam in Menachos, does it mean that it is exempt from the tcheles? Doesn't mean it's completely exempt. We can learn both ways. Now Rabbi Yehuda but Rabbi Loi rejected that decree. He was sitting after he took this bath with linen four-cornered garment, hamitzu yotzim, that had all the fringes, including tcheles. I'll just chazer quickly, so like this. So normally the rule is that the thread should be me'ain, the garment. That's the rule. Aside of wool and linen. That's the general rule that we had in Menachos. Now, another rule we had in Menachos, being that in Parshas Ki Seitzei, the Torah juxtaposes, it says, Loi silba shatnes, it says in the next pasuk, Gedilim Tasalacha, remember that? So that's the machlokes Beishamai Beisilul, as we have in this Perek, so much Beishamai Beisilul. Beishamai is not Doider Smuchen, Beisilul is Doider Smuchen. That means Beisilul says the fact that God Almighty put together, juxtaposed, the law of shatnes and the mitzvah of wearing tzitzis tells you that when it comes to tzitzis is doiche shatnes. Now, hold on. Why do you even have to be doiche shatnes? Even when, let's say, an asay is doiche loisase, let's word it that way, that's only if you don't have an option. If you can keep both, you have to keep both. If I would not have tcheles, then I can wear a garment made out of linen, make the strands out of linen, and shalom al Yisrael. But if you remember, tcheles isn't only about the dye of tcheles. Tcheles is only valid tcheles if it's dyed on wool. That's the challenge. And even though tcheles is not ma'akev, but there's a mitzvah to wear tcheles. So that's the Beisilul Shita. So if God is telling me the mitzvah, the better is to wear tcheles when you have it. And tcheles has to be wool. And therefore, even if the garment is made out of linen, it's not going to help me if I'm going to make other strands out of linen. You have all of the shitas and the rishonim, how many strands have to be dyed in tcheles. Look today at the people that wear tcheles. You're not going to find a consistency, how many strands are dyed, whether it's right or wrong. But it has to be dyed with, some of them have to be dyed with tcheles. So Rabbi Yehuda but Rabbi Loi felt that you have to wear a garment and you got to be, and that's doicha, and therefore, takami doiraisa, no one debates that shita. Beisilul, midoraisa leBeisilul, passing like Beisilul. If you wear a garment of linen, you got to wear tzitzis, and you put chelos on it, and that's what he did, and that's why the doimel l'malach havayit tzilokas. He looked like an angel of God. And as the Marsha points out, if you look at the Marsha, the daf is a misprint. It's really a daf in Tanach, it's daf Mem Aleph. Remember that story with Rav Katina? Malachim are very makpid for us to wear constantly a talus, at least a talus cotton. And there was a malach that came over to Rav Katina, and during the winter, he found him that he never wore proper tzitzis. Either he didn't wear a four-corners garment, or he wore a linen garment, and he felt that on a linen garment, he felt, as we talk a paskin, that Chazal said you don't put on tzitzis. Again, machlikas Rashi Rabbeinu Tam, whether you don't put on tzitzis at all, whether you don't wear the tchelas, and the malach was very upset with him. And that's the source from where we know. And he asked the malach, well, why are you so upset? So I'm not wearing tzitzis. God didn't command me to put on a four-cornered garment. And then he told him that you're not mechuyev to wear tzitzis, but the shas, whenever there's a terrible thing going around, and we need an extra protection, then that what protects us wearing a talis cotton. So therefore, since we find that malachim are makbid and wearing a tzitzis the whole time, so that's why the Marsha says that he looked like a malach havayit tzavakus. So he was sitting with his linen garment with chelos. However, they were concealing from him kanfei kesusam, the corners of their garments, because they were also wearing linen garments. That was the minhag. People wore linen garments, and they did not have tzitzis on it. Again, machlikas rishonim, whether it means that there was machlal no tzitzis, or whether there was no tchelis on it, even though this was at a time that people had tchelis available. And that's again because of this takanas chachamim, that even though midoiraisa, you are allowed to wear tchelis on a linen garment, even though tchelis is wool, because we paskin like Basilo, because we're doirish smuchim. Nevertheless, as we'll see in a moment, there's a reason, not to put on tzitzis on a linen garment. And Amalahem, so he realized that his Talmidim are hiding their corners. So he told them, Banai, my children, didn't I teach you this already? Right, we had this. That sudden betzitzis, sudden means a linen garment. And you would be right. That Rashi here says, remember, because Beishame is not doirish smuchim, but Beisilo is mechayvim because the doirish smuchim. Beisil bashatnis, gedilim taselacha, parshas kiseitze. And says Rabbi Huda Rabbi Loi, v'halacha k'tiv Beisilo. So why aren't you wearing? Again, either why aren't you wearing it? You should wear everything because they were wearing nothing, or why didn't you put on tchelas? So says the Gemara, they knew that halach is like Beisilo. Midairaisa, you are allowed to wear tchelas even on a garment of linen. There is no problem with shatnes, but Yizera mishum ksus laila. That's the big machlokes rishonim. What's ksus laila? So Rashi here says ksus laila means a garment that's designated to be worn at night. So teaches Rashi. And any garment that's designated to be worn at night is exempt from tzitzis, even if you're wearing it during the day. And if you're going to put on tchelas, let's speak about the tchelas, then you have a bona fide shatnez garment, a linen garment, right, with wool. The tchelas strands are made out of wool. It's doicha when there's a mitzvah. If there's no mitzvah, it's not doicha. So therefore, Chazal says, if you're wearing a linen garment, don't put on tzitzis. Well, hold on. If you're wearing a four-cornered garment, you are biblically obligated to wear tzitzis. Especially those who understand that Chazal say don't wear tzitzis at all. How can they say that? So here Rashi quotes us from what that we're going to have from Erevin, right? That what? That yesh koach v'yad chachamim to be mevatel a positive commandment from the Torah, b'shev v'al tasa. Interesting. Shev al tasa means wear the garment. You're wearing the garment because that's your garment. You're obligated to put something on it. No, you don't have to put something on it. Because if you put on a sudden ksus laila garment, then you'll be violating Shabbos. Okay.
Rabbi, they were wearing it during the day. So what's this chash of ksus laila? I don't understand how this comes in.
Ksus laila, according to Rashi, means a garment that's designated to be worn at night. Which means if I were to wear a ksus laila during the day, then that garment is exempt from tzitzis. And since it might happen, if we're going to put tzitzis on every time I have a four-cornered linen garment, then there might be a garment that was going to be designated to be worn at night. And the person will still wear it during the day or at night. And then they'll be violating Shatnez Midoraisa. Chevra, we're coming back to the mitzvah of lighting candles, and we're going to learn some Agadah. Says the Gemara, Pasuk in Eicha. And these are psukim that were said by Yirmiyahu when he right after the Churban Bayis Rishon. And it's Yirmiyahu lamented. He said, "Vatiznach mishaloim nafshi." He says that my soul despaired of having peace. Nashisi toiva, I have forgotten goodness. What was he referring to? So my vatiznach mishaloim nafshi. He despaired of having peace. Amar Ababo zu hadlakas ner b'Shabbos. Like Rashi tells us that after Churban Bayis Rishon, there was so much poverty that people didn't have money to buy a candle for Shabbos. And a candle for Shabbos is connected to peace. That's the peace. So he says that my soul despaired of finding peace. How is the candle connected to peace? Atkan, we learned about kavod, right? Maybe about oinig. Where's the shalom? So Rashi here says, I'm reading inside Rashi, like 10 or 11 lines from the bottom. Wherever there is no light, ain shalom. Why? Because you're walking and stumbling, and also you're walking in the dark. Rashi over here. That's the shalom, or the shalom bayis connected to adlakas nedus here on Daf Chafei Amid Beis. Now let's continue teaching the rest of the pasuk. Nashisi toiva, right? I have forgotten goodness. So Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, what does that refer to? Beis HaMerchatz. And here we're speaking about certain behaviors that bring refuah to a person. One is taking a bath. Rabbi Yechanan Amar, at least washing your hands and your feet. Again, all after the Churban, there was so much poverty, so there wasn't candles, there wasn't warmth, so people couldn't bathe in warm waters, and that took away the goodness that it brings to the person. Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, what is the goodness that he was referring to? So mitana, a nice bed, the kelim naim she'aleh, and nice bedclothes, all of that. Pashut, when you sleep healthily and cleanliness, it brings a refuah to a person. Abba Amar, zumita mutzas, it refers to a made bed, and the isha mikushetes, and a woman who's adorned. We're not speaking about the gashmias that Ashba says. We're speaking about the concept of kshoit atzmacha v'achakach kshoit achedim. A woman. It refers to a woman of good character that is fit to be married to a Talmud Chacham. That brings the greatest healing to a person. Tanan Rabbanan, Ezeu Asher. How do you define wealth? So here it says the Mishnah, Kol sheyesh loy nachas ruach bo'ishrei. If you have nachas from whatever you have, whether you have a lot, whether you have a little, says Rashi, Sameach bechelkoi ima'atim Rav. These are the words of Rav Meir. And now the Gemara says, Simin matkas. Matkas is Rav Meir. The test is from Rav Tarfin. The kuf is from Rav Akiva. And the samach is from Rabbi Yossi. And let me give you a heads up. The Marsha explains the next three Tanoim that none of them agree with Rav Meir. They are all backing up Rav Meir. And the Marsha here, and let's read the Marsha inside, says that there are three reasons why a person might be pursuing wealth. One reason is, says the Marsha, he wants his own covet. The other person, says the Marsha, is looking for great wealth because he loves his wife and he wants to be able to provide for what she needs. A third person wants a lot of wealth because they are afraid that if and when they'll get sick, then you need sometimes a lot of wealth to get better. So these are the three main reasons. And the next three Tanaim are going to point out that none of these three reasons work. And therefore, we have to go back to Rav Meir, who defines wealth the correct way. Now let's read the Gemara inside. We'll appreciate it. Rav Tarfon says that's for the first person. He wants more wealth to attain honor. So Rav Tarfon says, you want honor? Because you have to get honor, you have to have 100 vineyards and 100 fields and 100 avadim that work on them. It's a guzma. In other words, no matter how much you have, there's always going to be someone that has more than you. You'll never get honor from something that has no end. Rabbi Akiva says, a person says he wants wealth to be able to provide for his wife. Says Rabbi Akiva, no, that has to do with your wife's character. If your wife is a woman that will be happy with what you provide for her, then you don't need to run after wealth. And if your wife is not happy with what you give to her, then no matter how much you give, she won't be happy. Don't forget that Rabbi Akiva is speaking from his own experience of the great wife Rachel that he had. Rabbi Akiva Omer, Kol sheyesh leisha no b'maisim, that you want to provide for your wife. So then wealth should mean a person whose wife is content with whatever she has. Then you're wealthy. You don't have to run after physical money. Rabbi Yossi Omer, you want wealth to make sure that you heal yourself from illness. No, don't get ill to begin with. If that's the case, don't pursue wealth, pursue health. And how do you pursue health? Kol sheyesh beis hakisei samach l'shulchanei. We had that in brachas. That if a person has to relieve themselves, they always have the beis hakisei available. And other statements of Chazal, that is what you should pursue. And therefore, says the Marsha, they all agree with Rav Meir that Ezeu Ashir, Kol sheyesh nachas ruach, with whatever it is that God gave him, says Rashi Ima'at Imrov. Let's go a little bit weiter. Kanye Rab Shimon ben Elazar Omer. Right now, we're going to learn about invalid fuels. Ein madlikin bitsari. Chevra, tsari is balsam oil. Balsam oil has a very strong and a very good smell. So you would think, you learned the Mishnah, Rabbi Shmuel says, don't use itron, has a foul smell. Use balsam oil, use sari. It's great. Says the Tana, no. My Tama, why not? So since it has such a good, strong fragrance, you are going to take some of the oil out of the lamp. And here's the Rashi, we spoke this in the intro, that Rashi teaches us from a Tosefta that just like if a candle is already burning, right? You have a keli, you have oil, and you have a wick. You may not add oil to it on Shabbos. You know what you're violating? Mavir. It's lit. So what? You're adding to it. Same thing says Rashi. You may not take out any of the oil that's in the lamp. You're chayiv mishum achabe. Chayiv mishum. According to Rashi, it's isur d'oraisa. So don't use an oil that's tempting. A person will forget. He'll take some oil out and he'll put it on his wrists, however they do it. Why did you have to give that reason? I'll give you a more important reason. Lei mamad, why didn't you say more important? Which is matneshu off, because balsam tsari is very flammable, right? It flies up, it's volatile, and it can cause a fire. And that's a very important question because there's a rule, hamira sakanta mi isura. And we're not minimizing an isur d'oraisa. But how can you say a more important reason? You can burn the house down. So the Gemara says, indeed, the main reason is, the first is always the ikar. The pnei off, because it's volatile, there's a danger, you might create a fire. And even if not for that, a person can say, I know where I'm keeping it, and it's not, won't create a fire, my keli is different. You might take from it. And to conclude, the Gemara tells us a tragic story with many lessons, but one lesson connected to our din is just to point out how tsari, how balsam oil is very flammable, and a terrible thing can happen. And here's the story. There was a mother-in-law that hated her daughter-in-law. And this is a terrible story. So she told her daughter-in-law, Zil, why didn't you put on yourself anoint yourself with some balsam oil? Okay, so she obeyed. Azla and ikashit, and she put on herself some balsam oil. And Kiyasas, when she returned, Amr Allah, so the mother-in-law tells again the daughter-in-law, Zil itli shiraga, why didn't you light the candle? And Azla itla shiraga, when she went to light the candle, so because it's so flammable, it's so volatile, impach banoira, so some of the fire flew on her balsam oil that she put on herself, and God, and she got burnt, and it consumed her. B'meila, be very careful with balsam oil, and also be very careful from a mother-in-law that does not like you. God willing, to be continued.